It's a right Rican. And I'm going to talk about Elon Musk today because he's been in the news because he's Times Man of the Year, which has been better than what's been going on the past couple of years when it comes to the Times Man of the Year and the stupid things that they've done with that. Um, but there's a good choice, and he's funny. I don't know if anyone remember seeing him on Joe Rogan or seeing him Saturday Night Live, but he's a funny guy. Obviously, he's the richest man in the world, and he's just signed a deal earlier this year to with NASA to take us back to the moon. And interesting news. Before I get to all the political controversy thing, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. Um, I geek out with that stuff. My favorite Star Trek series is Deep Space Nine, and surprisingly, people don't like Enterprise. I think it sucks that they canceled it before, right when the show was starting uh, to get better. But with that being said, this is not a show about Star Trek. Although the reason I linked that is because he, in talking about his Man of the Year award, he's talked about how he believes in 5 years he'll will get a man in Mars, and he's talking about not only does he want to put a man on Mars, he wants to build a city in Mars, which I think is awesome. Like I said, someone being a huge Star Trek fan, I would love to see that. Shoot, I'd love to be part of the project to get to Mars. That would be a dream come true. But with that being said, excuse me, he um, he got into controversy this week because he got into a Twitter spat with Elizabeth Focahantas Warren, who they keep with this. They keep telling us how this Build Back Better is going to be great, and you have a guy who's innovating, someone who's they're talking about. You're always talking about climate change, and here's someone who invented, who has the Tesla car, that the the best electric car in the market, and she's here talking about complaining that he was the man of the year. Here she put, here's her, our here she goes. Let's change the rig tax code so the person of the year will actually pay taxes and stop freeloading off of everyone. And here was her response. Here was his response. If you open your eyes for 2 seconds, you will realize I pay more taxes than any American in history this year. She's gonna. Yeah, I was just reading. Let me see. Do I have it here in the article? It says he will pay more taxes. In this article, it talks about since he sold he sold a lot of stock, like 10% of his stock. He made 13 billion off of that. Of that 13 billion, he'll be subject to income tax, and he will pay anywhere between he'll pay about 7.6 billion in taxes in 2021, according to CNN. That number could reach up to 15 billion depending on how much more stock he sells. So what I found hilarious was him talking about this, and in another tweet he put, don't spend it all in one at once. Oh wait, you did already. And that's the problem. People don't understand. Look, this guy is going to pay, let's say if he pays on the high end, he's paying the $15 billion. We're 2 trillion. We're trillions in debt. Okay, even if you tax them at 100%, we still wouldn't pay off our debt. You could confiscate the wealth of all the billionaires, and we still would be in debt. We don't have we don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem, and that's the whole problem. There's everybody in Washington talks about it. Even the Republicans, they talk a good game, but they don't do shit about it. Nobody wants to cut. Nobody wants to cut money. No one wants to cut spending because they want to win elections. It's easier to win elections by saying, I'm going to give you free stuff than it is I'm going to take away stuff. Because people don't want to hear that. People don't want their stuff taken away from them. But we're so much in debt, and that like he talked about. He said there in the tweet, he said, "Don't spend it all at once." Oh wait, you already did. Because in truth, all the taxes that we pay, there is money already used. It doesn't, we keep running deficits, and eventually it's going to have to get paid. But what I like here was some of his other responses to her. When he told her stop projecting, and he goes, this was funny. You remind me of when I was a kid and my friend's angry mom would just randomly yell at everyone for no reason. But this is the funny one. Please don't call the manager on me, Senator Karen. Like I said, he's a funny dude. And when he talks, people listen. It's like he's made Bitcoin go up and down with some of his comments because he's the richest man in the world. And here's an article from CNBC from yesterday. Dogecoin spikes more than 20% after Elon Musk says Tesla will accept it as payment for merch. Now, granted, it's just merchandise, not the car, but hey, it's still by doing that, he caused Dogecoin. Excuse me, that's something in my throat. But just with that act alone, he caused Dogecoin to explode 20% in one day of trading. So someone like me that has Dogecoin, you're like, yes, okay, waiting for when it peaks so I can sell it. But yeah, so this is a guy who knows what he's talking about. He's there, speaking truth to power and saying, he's going to be paying a ton of taxes that the government's already spending. So that's the problem. The problem is you could tax everyone and it still wouldn't pay for pay for all our debt. We have a reckoning going on, and that's people don't want to see it. They don't want to see that, what this guy is talking about. Yeah, he may be a billionaire. He makes all this, most of his money is tied up in the stock of his company until he started selling the stock. But that's what we're fighting over, his taxes, because that's what she's complaining about, because of some of the years he didn't pay enough taxes. But this is a guy, I'd say they said 1 year he paid zero in federal taxes. Okay, he paid zero in federal taxes. How much taxes did his company pay? How much taxes did his employees pay? Because that's what you figure. Tesla as a company has hundreds of employees. Those employees pay taxes too. And he just moved from California to Texas. How is he vitalizing the new area he moved to in Texas? With building plants, setting up SpaceX there, basically almost building a city for his employees there. So taxes are being paid and all of that stuff, or the materials that need to be, that he spent money on to build SpaceX and all that stuff. All that stuff gets taxed. There's taxes, for everything. So, when are we gonna stop listening to these politicians buy us off with our own money? Because that's the whole thing. When government is telling you, like they're doing with this Build Back Better plan, they're giving you money for this, they're giving you money for that. They're taking your own money and giving it back to you. That's what they're doing. They're buying your votes with your own money. That's like you giving me a 20 and going, you give me $20 and I go, hey, I'm going to treat you to lunch. Oh, I got, you know what? Well, let's just make sure it costs at least $20 because that's all I have right now on me. Oh, okay. Well, I'm just, I'm making it, you're giving me that 20, I'm treating you to lunch. And if you're like, oh, wow, that's cool. Look, it's so nice. He's treating me to lunch. But when you gave me the money to treat us to lunch, who's really treating us? And that's what's going on with our taxes right now. We're just, that's what the government's doing. They're conning us into saying, oh, yes, I want universal health care. I want free college and all that. Somebody has to pay it. We're paying it. It's not free. None of that stuff is free. We're paying for it. And they're just bribing us with our own tax money. That's what they're doing. We got to pay, in some places you got to pay ridiculous amount of property taxes. I remember speaking to, when I worked at a law firm, I was speaking to one of the truck driver delivering boxes to my office, and we were talking, and he was complaining about the property taxes in Long Island, and he was telling me something. His house was maybe worth $200,000 at the time, and he was paying $15,000 in property taxes. That means this guy was paying over $1,000 a month in taxes on his own home. Okay, which basically you're just paying rent to own your own home, and you're paying the rent to the government for the privilege of owning a home. That's why you see what's going on with this great reset, and they're saying you won't own nothing and you'll be happy. Because if they own everything and you're paying the government for all the stuff that you own, you buy a car, you got to pay registration tax every year. So technically, even though when your car is paid off, you're still paying the government for the privilege of having a car. That's why I consider myself more libertarian than I consider myself conservative with that stuff, because when it comes to things like that, it's like, I want to be able to own my car and not have to pay anything. I understand having to pay insurance because, listen, you get into an accident, you're liable. So if you have insurance, guess what? That's what you have the insurance company for. Someone hits you without insurance, and hopefully you have full coverage. You paid for the privilege of having full coverage. So like that, if someone hits you without insurance, guess what? You're still covered. That's what insurance is supposed to be for. Like health insurance. That's why I say, I'm fine with some sort of, let's say, universal basic care. If, to encourage people to go for annual physicals, which that's why, really, honestly, most health insurances, you get your annual for free. You don't have to pay anything. Because why? They want to encourage you to go for your annuals So like that, you're keeping track of your health, and you are so like that if something does come up, they can catch it fairly early. So like um uh during the pandemic, I you know gained weight, uh ate like crap. So I gained weight and my cholesterol went up. Okay, it happens. When I went for my physical this year, I've been eating better, working out, my cholesterol lowered. Um, the doctor wants me back in 6 months just to make sure that I'm still keeping that pattern, to make sure that in 6 months the medicine my I don't need any medication, to that I'm doing a fine job on my own. And I go to the gym right now. I go to the gym right now, I'm in a cycle of 3 days a week, because I'm more doing for the past 2 months I've been doing a lifting cycle, where now I'm in a cardio focused cycle. So I'm doing hit training on the treadmill, and I still go lift because I love to lift. So but that's what goes on with and that's why I'm okay with some sort of universal basic care like that. um but then you have to have supplemental insurance. So like that, if you do get sick, you have you have the insurance there, because to take care of that stuff. um and that's something where I love when I'm arguing with people, and they'll be like, oh, you can't think for yourself because look, because you agree with more of the people on the right. Because right now, the danger to our freedoms is not coming from the right, it's coming from the left. um that's why in like in the after 9/11, I was against all the stuff that they were pushing, because it was stuff that was danger to our freedom. The Patriot Act and the NDAA, all that stuff, I was always against it. So I'm consistent. you know the stuff with the vax mandates, that's why I'm against it. It's a government overreach on our daily lives. And they'll be like, oh, but what about this, what about that? No, no, I don't care about what about this and what about that. If you want to get your vaccine, go ahead. If you don't, go ahead. Nobody, but this is the whole thing. They want to keep changing the rules. It went from one Johnson and Johnson to two of the Pfizer and Moderna, and now it's like 3 or 4 shots is going to make you fully vaccinated. When is it going to stop? Where does it stop? um I don't know. When it stops, when we give them the middle finger and tell them to fuck off. That's what uh that's when it ends. Because for right now, they have you scared and you don't worry about it. And you know, Elon Musk has FU money. I try not to curse too much, but he has FU money. So he basically tells them FU. But you know what? We shouldn't need the money in order to tell them to FU. That's it. Um, and that's what we should do. We can't comply our way out of tyranny. You're gonna comply your way into tyranny. So don't worry about people who aren't vaccinated, because you know what? Honestly, I see people post, or these unvaccinated people are in the hospital dying. It's like, okay, that's their choice. Because you know what? If you're vaccinated, it's supposed to protect you. And if you this whole thing, you can still get it vaccinated. Just and you can still spread it. People, uh, it's not perfect. It's not a panacea. It's not the cure all. It's just a preventative measure. But some people, they don't want that stuff in their body. They don't trust it. Okay. But that doesn't mean we should force people to do it. You should be able to have an exemption, a religious exemption, a health exemption, a natural immunity exemption for all these mandates. If you've had the virus and recovered, guess what? It's like getting the shot, except for the fact that you get the natural immunity from your own bodily functions. So, anyways, I'm ranting. I just saw how long I've been on. Um, I'm gonna leave it there, but check out that article on Times Man of the Year, and see about the plans that he has about it. You know, he wants to take us to Mars in 5 years. How will, let's say, taxing him at 90%, how is that going to help us get to Mars, and how is that going to help the human species when we have someone that's trying to take us to the stars, as opposed to the government that says they know what's best for you when all they do is just bribe you with your money. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm the Rican. If you're watching this, either watching it on YouTube or Rumble, please cross follow, and you can interact with me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, Clout Hub, Getter, Parlor, all those sites. I'm on it. All right. That being said, have a good one.